Recording in progress.
Well, hi. We've had a little excitement at PIMC since I last saw you. At the end of the meditation, I'm going to give you a little slideshow and a movie. We had a pretty substantial fire in the trash cans caused by myself. Spontaneous combustion of oily rags is a reality. It's not something that might happen to someone else. I actually thought of it when I had a bundle of rags about this big, soaked with stain, and hanging them on the fence as I usually do, but I thought, oh, I'm so tired. And you're not going to get spontaneous combustion at 40 degrees. So I threw them in the trash can in a lump. And at 9 o'clock yesterday, that was at 9 o'clock Friday night. At 9 o'clock on Saturday, the center's fine. And we already have plans for the repairing, and the power is out, but we're going to get that going. So no big, and when we're insured, so it's not a huge financial loss. But it could have been the center, just like that. Hence, the topic today is something about impermanence and dukkha, and the utter unpredictability of things. Oh, his name is Craig. He's one of the arson investigators. We had an hour-long conversation. Fascinating man. Very kind fellow. So, I want to start with a poem. I had it up. Where'd I put it? Is there enough power on my iPad to do it? Can't tell. Hope so. I'm going to plug it in. Taglines of what I want to talk about today. Don't waste any time. Don't waste any time. If there's something you keep, there isn't any time. And yeah. I watched that very powerful movie the other day, Don't Look Up. And I highly recommend it. Well, it'll make you want to tell your loved ones you love them. Do the work. There isn't any time. It's now. And do the work. Read that incredible book, Forgive. The Book of Endings. With your grandmother, your dozen eggs, your walk in the park, a species as vast will disappear. A species that has found of the canopy in the human dirt, or in the humid dirt, and that has come with us from it like a blanket, a pattern to music, a map. At the beginning of this page, there may have been 3 or 4 left, but now there's only one. It began. A word, a wish breathed into water, a seed falling through space. It was all. It has drunk the dew from its back in the desert. It has fed its young with strips of leaves. It has built homes of bark. It has carved the sky into a song. It is sea. It is already gone. Like you with your grandmother, your dozen eggs, your walk in the park, a species that has found its own ways of eating, of moving, of hiding from predators, come with us for millions of years, It has watched the night and day follow each other. It has been 3 or 4 left, but now there's only one. And if you read this page again, it will be another one, a wish breathed into water, a seed falling through space. It was all of us there, as it is now in the desert. It has fed its young with strips of leaves. It has built homes out of bark. It has carved the sky into a song. It's already gone. We are alive. To be the miracle, to be part of the miracle. So not only if your eyes are open are you seeing, when this voice, there's the sound, there's the perception and the creation of meaning. So, a thousandth of an eye blink. Since the time of the Buddha, we've sat down with an intention of being awake. That we have. To be mindful. Please, dear compatriots on the awakening journey, please and recognize that it's not my body. Can you feel the life? Hands and fingers. In the face. And when you find is life. In the last few nanoseconds of life, focus the mind. We can use in-breathing and out-breathing as our home. Then the part that forms. And the wandering mind is autonomous. And so you may well experience thoughts of, when I don't like, disliking, aversion, thoughts, feelings of aversion, pushing away, striking it. And there's the very common, prevalent, ubiquitous restlessness, agitation is not still. It's restless. Doubt the competing, conflicting belief systems. and beneath and mood that you're experiencing right now. It might be a long, stable mood you woke up with, or maybe it's a mood you've been in for days. Our practice to bring wisdom to these moods. Sit quietly for a while, aware of whatever happens, trances, and using in-breathing and out. And will wander for a tenth of a second and be noticed. Sometimes a minute, sometimes 5, sometimes 10. Acknowledging that. Returning to complete presence. Is the mind of this moment concentrated, focused, one-pointed? Is it a contentment? The moment when the mind is full of greed and even desperate wanting? Or is it a mind which is accepting? Is it a mind which is painful? We're not just trying to calm everything down. Our real purpose is to magically appear. Can you notice? They do their dance, and then there's the right energy. They repeat, and sometimes they obsess. The practice is all about simply, in a way, being. Awakening is we reveal to ourselves the power of love. I am in this moment. It's so tiresome to should have done that differently. I should be like this, I shouldn't be like that. Well, right now. And when there's the hurting of the body and there's fear, loneliness. Whenever I discover that I'm hurting, of a human life. There's a lot of hurting. Always be up and joyful and productive. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am. Now. And when I'm hurting, no matter. we do for 20 minutes. Instead, let's realize that there is no end to being awake. It's not the end of meditation, it's the summoning of the understanding, oh, now I'm moving on to be mindful of opening my eyes. But then when you do, if you drive the car or work in the garden or whatever it is, maybe put your phone away for the rest of the day. Bringing awareness into the thighs and buttocks, the pressure of the body in the chair. Notice the life in your throat, your neck. The life. And now, with the gong, know that all is well. But this was a scary thing that happened at the center yesterday. At 9:03 in the morning, yesterday morning, this happened. Jim, will you tell me if it works, if I get through okay here? Oops. All right, turn this on. Okay.
Coming through fine.
Okay. Remember to breathe. The camera stopped working when the electrical system burned out, when the meter shattered. The fire department got there very soon after this, and they put it out in seconds. And I have a few slides to show you of what happened, of the damage. I need to share my screen again. Share, here we go. So this was the night before. This door has one layer of sealer on it, and then one puts on this old American stain, which is very dark. You leave it on for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you wipe it off, and it becomes a beautiful door, stained like this. It does, however, create lots of rags. This is the new door in the living room out to the ramp. It's very beautiful, stained. And this looking the other way out the trash gate. The trash cans were here. The plastic of the trash cans was the major accelerant. In the first accelerant were the oily rags, and then next came the trash cans, and then the cedar, of course. This is looking back in. Here the trash cans are melted. And so the flames were here enough to char this. Had it managed to get into the attic, it would have been really a catastrophe. This is the power box that the main power supply comes down into this box. We left it last night. Kat and Mish came and helped me put up plywood. So makes me feel a little teary right now. A moment of misjudgment, a moment of looking down at my phone and texting, or a moment at the trash can when I actually thought it through. Spontaneous combustion, I've heard that it happens. I don't really believe it. And my back's hurting, and I want to go home, and I just don't want to hang these rags up on the fence. Amazing, isn't it? Within a week, this will all be cleaned up. We'll have a new fence. Misha's already committed to making us a new fence. The power, I don't know how quick, it depends. I don't know how quickly the power company, or we'll have to get the power, PGE, and hire an electrician. The PGE will get the power to the new box, and the electrician will then have to get it down to the main panel in the building. All of this when inside the building we have a brand new $44,000 fire alarm system. It's kind of ironic. There's a smoke detector in every room, and a noisemaker and a strobe in every room of the building. It had been smoldering probably for half an hour or more since this was just where the flames became visible. And I would, of course, done this, but the fire investigator asked me to send him a copy of it, and also to check in the hours before, just to be sure no one else had entered the scene. Because arson is actually, I found out from, arson is actually quite common in Portland, and arson around churches, synagogues, mosques, and presumably Dharma centers is also quite common. So, I find it remarkably and even, I wouldn't say pleasantly, but usefully sobering. A pile of rags, a moment of inattention. And we were saved by those firemen, fire people, fire persons. They come once a year, the fire department. They come once a year and they check that the key is in the lockbox, and they have a map of the building in their iPads, and they check that the access to the electrical panels is available. And there's maybe 8 of them or 9 of them. They're all very fit. They come through and they look, and I walk them through the building, and they're doing this because they want to know the layout, because most often they're moving through thick smoke when they go in, so they can't see very well. But they maneuver with their iPads. They have the map in front of them. So we didn't have them do that. That's great. They didn't have to do that. So there it is. And I'm going to be talking about impermanence. At least that's part of what I want to say this morning. Beyond that, announcement-wise, there's all the usual announcements. There's teachings on Monday night with Jim, and Wednesday night sometimes with Gregory, and Doug is on Thursdays. Next Thursday night is the beginning of Doug Pullen's 6-week fundamentals or basics of mindfulness class. And if you haven't done that, I really strongly encourage you to do so. And also, I want to mention this. The evening of the 1st. My pictures disappeared. I didn't do that. What's it trying to tell me? Was that the hook? On the 1st at 7:00, you are invited. Bring your friends. We're having a community discussion, community meeting around the issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're moving along in our process. Many of you maybe filled out a questionnaire that Kat created back last summer, I think, on your views of PIMC and what's needed. And she's going to present a PowerPoint of that, which is that. Don't be frightened that it's a PowerPoint, because it's actually very interesting information, well presented. And then we've created a DEI, as they say. It was always jargon, statement for PIMC, and we want your input and feedback on that too. And we'll open it up to you and see what is there, how important is this to you, and what would you like to do to help? So with that, and I'm surprised that isn't on the front page of the website yet. It will be very soon. There's so much to do right now. Jim, would you like to lead a little movement, please?
All right, I will do that. So, we're all sitting, maybe feeling a little tension in our throats, in our neck, in our chest. At least I am. So let's be aware of how we change our position and become aware of the space around us where we can stretch a little bit. I'm not the co-host. I just pinned it.
Let me. Okay, you got it.
Okay, now I lost my. I got it. All right, here we go.
That's it.
All right. So many little buttons. So I'm in touch with my feet, and like I said, I'm in my throat. So let's turn our attention to the tightness in the throat and the neck area. Let's take our chin and move it over to one side. In the neck and shoulders as we move back and forth. our basic nervous system. Taking our hands and put them on the, noticing the mood, noticing the sensations. And the knees and the space between. Moving up from the knees to the hips, scanning, and into the torso. Soft belly, deep breathing. Push the arms out, forward, and then out to the side. Rock back, the wrists and the fingers. Open hand, palms down. But it feels like this. Open. The feet, as we, the spine is upright. It's relaxed. Breathing. Noticing deep breath. Stepping out to the other side. In the knees, in the hips, the shoulders. Just softly feel the body breathing out as you go forward, breathing in as you rock back, and the whole body. Back to the center, breathing, noticing the movement, intending to shift the weight. Draw energy in with your in breath, rocking back, out breath, moving forward. When we just let the attention move, noticing balance, arms relaxing from this shoulder, from that shoulder, the body. Upward, in front of us, very subtle. Just attending a little dance, readjustment, breathing, down the center, relaxing into the movement. Breath up and release. Just one more time. Grateful for another chance to improvement. Grateful for the fire people. Grateful for the camera caught the images, but the camera can't call. Someone saw it. Their willingness to help out the fire department or so. So bring our hands together in front of the heart and bowing to, and hopefully this will be useful information and a benefit to all people. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Jim. I want to share this teaching from the Buddha and then ask you to speak how it affected you, what it says to you about your Dharma practice. All component things are impermanent. A bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom. And things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. A stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. A flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp. It all seems so permanent, doesn't it? My community. So, oh wait, I wore a special T-shirt for this. It's my, that's me. It's my X-ray T-shirt.
I would share, Robert.
It's Sherry. Hi, Sherry.
Yes. Hi. I experienced combustion. We left a light on in the carport, which was a metal base, whatever they're called, and a light bulb. And we left that light on most of the time, or by car. And I was home in the house. It was the 15th of December, talking to my daughter on the phone. And I looked out the window at one end of the house and I saw smoke. Ran to the other end of the house, ran down the stairwell, opened the door to the carport, and it was a massive flame apartment. And the line was burnt through. So I couldn't call. So I ran downstairs back to the other end of the house where we had a suite and a renter. And I ran in. They put the fire out eventually, but not until the entire house was burned. And afterward was quite amazing and quite shocking. It really felt like the rub. And I realized how attached I had become to everything in that home. The thing was, and how it was gone like that. Special china, which my auntie had left me, all that sort of thing. But it started coming to me on to. So I feel so bad. Yeah. And definitely drives home.
Wow. Thank you.
No, it was here.
Wow.
It was a very large 2-story cedar house with my sister and her husband and my mother and father, so that they had a place to come every summer and be here. And my father, when the new house was eventually built, I think it took 2 years before it was complete, just the difficulty of getting things here to the island and so on, automatically turned to where the house was completed and we could move into it. So it was very discombobulating. Shell had no furniture. It had nothing that connected us to what was again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good morning, Robert. And Sangha, you really can feel free to say no.
I'll just disappear if I don't like the
Or you
question.
could make me disappear. That would be even
Oh,
better.
that
Into my question. Thank you very much. I was, like everybody else, I was your complete honesty about what happened, no equivocation. No, I can relate to that because I really am an honest person. I know obviously you felt bad that this happened. And as you said, you meant to put the rags on shame. And so this is a test. I mean, you can feel guilty and bad, just like somebody broke in and set it on fire. And so are you willing to talk about that? Because I respect if you're.
When I was going over to the center, when I had learned what happened, well, first there was the call. The alarm company called and said the alarm was, I forget how I learned it was a fire. I forget, but it all happened very quickly. But then I learned is really real. I get it. And I had that hesitation the night before. And too fast down the hill, Taylor's Ferry Hill. And I slowed down because I knew there was no inspector. And he was going to wait for me. So there was no hurry. And so I drove the speed. Tell you the truth, mostly I had a little irritation that I had planned for Saturday morning to have it all for myself. I was going to sit in my little house. I stayed too long the night before. My back and leg were hurt into my life energy and just finishing the project. Damn it. And I did. But it actually kind of hurt me. It kind of, I didn't sleep well. I'm not that young anymore. So to your question, I didn't really have to process it because there wasn't any. Wow. My intention was not, I didn't really believe that spontaneous combustion. Oh, and the other thing that I remembered in my thought process, but of course that's when I talked to the fire inspector guy and I said, how does this happen? And he said, well, have you ever, and you can't put your hand into a compost pile when it's working properly. And it gets hot enough that it kills all the seeds. A good compost pile just wipes out. It hasn't been, and I did have a little reflection. It's like, wow, this is cool. I'm not suffering over this. It's a pain in the ass that I'm going to be managing another repair. There will be contractors and there will be. Now, had the center burned, that would have been more of a challenge, I think, for me. There would have been more grief, and I don't have any real grief over this either. It's just.
It's the most vital thing that I'm hearing, that I'm just unfortunately like in your upbringing, would you have had that shame? Because when I dropped something in my house, like I was getting a jar of the first thing I thought of, and I cleaned it up. It was no big deal, but I hear that message and I'm so grateful. My question really is, did you evolve through practice and everything else, or was it just something that I'm assuming you did, but I want to hear you say it?
Let go a little, be happy a little. Let go a lot, be happy a lot. Let go completely and know the happy. You just summarized the process really beautifully. Your mother felt really bad about herself. Yes. Somebody attacked to do unto ourselves what they did unto us. And your mother didn't do it on purpose. It doesn't make her a bad person. It makes yourself. When you make a mistake, attack yourself. And the intention is, well, I'll attack you and criticize you because then you'll be better in your life. Is malware. And I would add one more word. It's just malware, or it's only malware. And it's not even that deep for 50 years. So, but I have worked with many people, dozens. This is 30 years ago, a woman came to treat. And so we did a lot of things and she started to meditate, to keep a journal for a couple of weeks. And she got a little pad, in the days when we used to write things on little pads. In her mind, saying something nasty to herself, that she write it down. That she pause and write it down. Now there's this. And so she did that, and she came with me and to see me, and she, no one will ever marry you. There's a kind of there's a collection that we have.
Right.
At the camera, so I'm looking closer into the camera. There, that's better. So I wasn't doing this. She wasn't saying these things. They said themselves. They were autonomous.
Right.
Why are you doing that? Right? It's why don't you? And so it's the same process, like this infinite regress of criticism. And then she came in one day. I wonder how she is though. And she was very, and she started, and then it became clear as her mindfulness deepened, and she became more and more aware of it. She started sitting more. And so she's developing the capacity, this complex, I would call it, Carl Jung would have called it a complex, watching this complex operate. And then I sat in her chair and I had her walk around me and say those things to me. I had her sit there and I became grandma and I said them to her, therapy world. And then, really happy one day, and said, she described what she had done and put them all over the walls of her house.
Wow.
And then she said, I would walk through the room, and she she did that for a while. And so what do you see happening here? What happens is conscious and running by itself, the conditioned mind, that's becoming more and more obvious. And then what happens is, there's that. And so if I had it here, the 12 steps of dependent origination, right here, there gets to be so much light and space in that place that that's served its time or done its time. And that's the paradigm. And I've seen hundreds.
Wow. I know that this is like, the older I am, the more I do it, the more ingrained it is. And I kind of know the voice, but you gave me a way and admire you more. I've always admired you. And for me, I just can't tell you how important this is to me and how much you've helped. And I think to the fire, which I know, wasn't devastating, but this is just from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you, Eileen. That's really beautiful. And hooray. We don't know how to heal ourselves. The healing all by itself. And the same is true with the psyche. With the hurts that we have, information, but mostly it's the longing, the organism longs to heal, and neurotic patterns are way high up. And so once we start, there's a little booklet, The Power of Mindfulness. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a link to The Power of Mindfulness on my blog. It was written by Nyanaponika Thera, who I met actually. That if we were to personify mindfulness, it's not self-effacing, but it's not a bold character. Mindfulness isn't ta-da, deep in the psyche. It's very dense. They don't stand a chance against mindfulness. Once it gets its little feet down there, they get suction cups on them or something. As Ruth put it so beautifully several times in my life, darling, once you have the Dharma, you can no longer get where the lights are not on. And so, henceforth, and it'll be a pain, you'll think.
Meditation, right? And
Absolutely.
You move to the other side. And if somebody said, if she had said you're stupid, I wouldn't believe it. I knew I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So it seems to prove it because that's the paradigm.
Yeah.
So that's all part of it. So I'll let other people talk. Thank you.
There was a moment in raising my son, my first child. He's 40, and this happened when he was a toddler, maybe a little older than a toddler. But anyway, I was leaving, and I said, "Goodbye." And he mimicked it exactly. The day before, somewhere on the computer, I guess, I had seen baby monkeys mimic our, and I was a bit shaken. It's like, oh my God, he is mimicking the way I speak to his mother, the way I speak to him. He's modeling himself on me. And we do that, carry the wounds of generations. So stop some of these things. And I've watched in both of my children as they're living out their life, right? And the ways I acted, and we can't help it. But at some point where we decide this old way that I have lived my life, this unconscious way of repetition, doesn't cut it. And you've had a nice flash on that around self-criticism. So terrific. I've done it privately with people, but I have not put it publicly available. Is powerful. And it's a cultural artifact. Yeah. I'm told that the Tibetan culture, they have their own issues, but they don't have this, and my culture pretty well. But here's what I'm going to do. Some years ago, I was at Brightonbush, and I read that to the group. And I read it, you take the book and you show the pictures. And it's like the teacher reading to the primary school. And then I had everyone take a sheet of 8.5 pages, and then everyone wrote down their self-hating statements. And then I had them all fold them up again. Everyone got to pick one. And then we went around the room, powerful. And the compassion button got pushed again. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're too stupid. No wonder you're alone. And this violent stuff that like we could look around this screen and is appalling. Ourselves and each other because of this unconscious bad malware. Anyway, we read them, and I, as we went deeper and deeper into the darkness of it, I was afraid, my God, I made a mistake here. We're never going to. We then did another, I forget what the exercise was, that we did something about just a reflection and thinking it's hard to remember one or two kind acts. Now that's malware. Or maybe unintentional, some programming that just causes more. We then went around the room, each person speaking one or two kind things about themselves. And so we went from, everyone realized, I'm not the only one. It's not that I'm to blame for it. I am responsible now for it, but something in it that shouldn't be made public, please let me know. Okay? Quickly. Oh, poem, Michael. Would you be willing to read that to the group? Where are you?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. That's funny. We're listening.
This poem, Robert, she took to recording what people told her about walls of her house. Then she wrote down what she said to herself. When the ceilings were covered, she covered the floors. When the floors were covered...
Michael, that is in the chat if any of you'd like to. In the public chat. Let me see. I see. So you don't have it either, Jim. Now, look at that. I just did it like that. Poof. Now I have to publish it. There we go. Happened with this woman. And I think I can say this, it's so long ago. It was not. She worked with that some. And she'd come out of it. When I met her, there was a session where she said, I think I'm ready for a relationship. And we did a little meditation together around imagining herself being ready and what it might be like and so on. And the next day, she had a fender bender in the parking lot. She married the guy. They both quit their jobs and bought a yellow school bus, which they built into a traveling home, a hippie bus. These were grown-ups. They built it into a hippie bus, and the last I think I ever heard from her was 6 or 8 months later when she wrote me, it was paper days, she wrote me a letter from somewhere in like Tennessee or somewhere, that they were off having a wonderful time seeing the world. What do you make of that? That's bizarre, isn't it? And I guess that brings me back for full circle. If there's someone you haven't told how much you love them, how much you need them, don't wait. If it's time to end your relationship, if it really is dead or dying, don't wait. If there are some truths that need to be said, don't wait. If you have habits of undermining yourself or criticizing, if the mind does this undermining and criticizing, don't wait. Do something about it. This is to Robert. If you're not taking good enough care of yourself and getting enough rest and exercise, and if you're carrying more weight than is healthy for you, don't wait. There's only a little time. Of course, there's always now, right? There's only now, but if there are dreams that you have and you really, I'm going on a lot here today. I hope it's okay. I studied Ericksonian hypnosis for several years with Carol Erickson, talk about hypnosis. And he did a very simple guided meditation hypnosis thing. And one of the things he said, you can be more awake. And in this awakeness, you will discover beautiful encounters of your entire lifetime with other human beings are still to come. And if you're holding on to beliefs that, oh well, it's over, I'll never this, that, the thoughts. And who we are is the vast awake universe. We are the love of the universe. And that's not a metaphor. It's actually the truth in our lives. All we have to do is wake up. So that's Steffi, please explain how best. I don't know if I can do this. Tips are still to come. Well, it's okay. And maybe it's time to say to a partner, and I'm kind of dying here. I'm kind of feeling the spark's gone. Why don't we bring this thing back? Well, sweetheart, it's time to get some couples therapy. Big one. Or maybe it's, who knows? I mean, just if you, I will go back to my student Who knew? Maybe they had a terrible bus crash, or maybe they decided they really didn't like each other. I have no idea. I'm going to look for one more quote, and then I need to end. Thanks for bearing with me. One should have been quieter. But see if I can find this. Hang on just a second. Remind me, what was the name of the woman who was born both deaf and blind? Oh, darn. Let me look another moment.
I thought the same thing that you did, which was like if I made a fire or done something like that, I would throw myself off a cliff. Like how I wouldn't be able to deal with that either. But this is the very first story I ever heard of the Buddha. Buddha's talking to his students, and he said, "How would you feel if you got struck by an arrow?" And they said, "That'd be terrible." They were like, "That'd be way worse. I'm already miserable and in pain, and that happens again. And good grief, that'd be just the worst." Over. The second arrow is the one you hit yourself with because you're in pain. Like I cut my finger. It actually came to me, I have to stop at the first arrow. This is bad enough, you know? So I just wanted to share that with you.
Michael, are you still there?
I am.
You watching?
I am.
Michael Shohan made these arrows for that very... Thank you, Michael. I can't find that poem. So maybe I'll look it up. If I can find it, I'll put it in the trash.
Said you were going to put it in the trash.
Did I? I found it.
Impermanent, Jim.
I found it. All right, Helen Keller. Thank you, mind. You ready? Security is mostly a superstition. It. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure. Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of humans as a whole experience it. Adventure or nothing. I'll put that in the chat. That's powerful, isn't it? Poo-wee. Chat to everyone. Paste. Enter. There it is. Well, friends, I hope
Robert,
you...
may I chime in? I'm sorry, Robert. It's Tamara.
Hello, Tamara. Yes, hi.
Hi. May I just chime in for a minute?
Sure.
A second, Jim burned, and nobody coming, and it just makes me think about how Sangha is kind of they're strangers. Incredible that it didn't, and whoever called, God bless them, for Buddha bless them for somebody, because it's amazing. And it just really quickly also, it just makes me think of, I actually had one time in my life where, sometimes we'll sit around and think, God, what if something happened to me in the future and nobody came to my rescue? That kind of scary future thought. But I actually had something really horrible happen to me one time, and a complete stranger showed up just out of the blue through it. And your building could have become gone. But because of a person, it's still standing. So it was just incredible to watch. And it's still standing there. So anyway.
Thank you, Tamara.
Yes.
So shall we sing our way home? Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Oh, we are melodic, tell you what. All right, lovely ones.
Love you. Love you.
I have one more thing. I have a wonderful afternoon ahead. Once every 2 weeks or so, I have a trainer. I go to the gym and he helps me rejuvenate myself. And then I'm going over to the center where I'm meeting a fellow from up north of Seattle who's bringing 2 exquisite silk paintings of the Buddha and Kuan Yin to offer to the center. So we're going to meet there, and he's going to Steve Burkhart. I've known him in Dharma for 30 years. He's coming down to offer those to our new center, our newly repainted and beautiful center. So I have a wonderful afternoon ahead of me. May you too. Be outdoors. Golly, there's hardly a cloud in the sky. I got a text from a friend who's skiing on Mount Bachelor today, and I found myself a little jealous. It's like, oh man, that'd be nice. All right. Happy trails.
Happy trails.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks,
Thank you, Robert and Jim. Love to you, Sherry, for your story and all.
Yeah.